and dominating in the early stages, that's still an angle that Team Liquid might draft for.
Twisted Fate, Rel, Renekton, Azir, Kai'Sa, Alistar, all banned away. So if we're looking at the picks that got played last time, it's Huni that'll have to play something different, and it's PowerOfEvil that'll have to play something different. So the solo lanes for TSM will be forced to take a different look here, but the jungle will be exactly the same. The first pick, Udyr, does not change up, but there's that S+ pick in the Tristana, that powerful flex pick, that hyper scaler whose early game weaknesses are largely alleviated thanks to Hail of Blades, locked in for TL.
Yeah, a little anecdotal evidence. I have a challenger friend that's a support player, and I wanted to switch roles to be an AD carry player. I was like, all right, what's our bottom lane matchup that we pick? And he's like, just always pick Tristana. It's that good, okay?
Yep.
For bottom lane, but also, as you're mentioning, for solo lane flexes as well. So a huge priority pick. And Team Liquid actually make the decision to go with Santorin onto Nidalee. This is also one of the looks that has been more rare for them, but instead of going to the Hecarim again, which was succinctly dealt with by TSM for the early stages of the game, and Spica had total control there, they go with the more risky Nidalee here. When you pick that up for Team Liquid, you want solo laners with stuns. Guess what? Twisted Fate and Renekton are already banned out. Those are the prime two that you like to combine with a Nidalee. But there are plenty more in the inventory here for Team Liquid to try and get some winning lanes to play off of. If you play Nidalee with losing lanes, then it definitely feels bad, man.
Okay, well, we got the Nidalee versus Udyr in the jungle, and now the opposite of draft number 1 is now happening here in draft number 2, whereas the last time around, the second half of the bans, the second half of the picks were all about the bottom lane champions. This time, it's all about the solo lanes, as neither one of the teams has drafted a top laner or a mid laner yet, although the possibility of Team Liquid using Tristana as a flex does still exist. So that means this next phase of bans will be more tricky for TSM to navigate, knowing that champion can be flexed around. Aphelios ain't the same. You know that boy is going into bottom lane every single time. That is where he goes. Same thing with Thresh. There's no flex potential over on TSM thus far, but the bans are looking at the top laners. It's Camille and Jace banned away first.
Yeah, and I'm extremely excited to see this, the bottom lane matchup as well, because CoreJJ literally has a video out on Nautilus into Thresh hook interaction and the small bump.
I've seen that. Yeah. That's a good video.
That you get. I recommend everybody go look up CoreJJ's video real quick right before this match, so you can have the detailed explanation and a little bit more insight. Should be a little some good prep there. Whittling down on this top lane, though, this is the contentious one, as we've been putting a lot of priority on, hey, Alphari counter pick. Ooh, beware, right? He's gonna have something spicy for this matchup. It did not turn out very spicy in game number 1, especially with him kind of face checking, where Spica had just walked over a ward to the top side and then giving first blood over as Gnar. So this time around, they whittle down on the top lane champion pool, and they're actually going to open up for an Alphari pick first and then keep counter for Jensen. I do like this because look at these bans here. You've protected your Gangplank so incredibly well with Aurelia taking out, Jace taken out, Camille taken out. Like all of these there's nothing really frightening now for Alphari to have to play Gangplank into that Huni has to offer. Maybe TSM go with more bottom lane focus then. And just try and look to build up this Aphelios. There's the Lucian pickup, though, and get your winning solo lane. Do we have Huni Lucian showing up in playoffs, my friend?
Is this the Huni Lucian? In the first series of the Mid-Season Showdown, is this the Huni? Even better, it's the Huni Rumble. Well, you want to talk about iconic champion pick. These two can also flex back and forth perfectly.
Yeah.
So either one of these champs can go into either one of the solo lanes. If they lock that Rumble in, Huni, of course, famous for huge plays on the Rumble in the top lane and some other plays on Lucian in the top lane. Oh my goodness, this is going to be exciting here in these solo lanes. You guys, I'm sure everybody watching at home, you get tired of seeing Renekton into Gnar over and over and over again. Well, here you go, not this time around. We got some Rumble, we got some Lucian, and let's see what TL wants to pick into it. For Jensen specifically, we want to see a step up from game number 1. PowerOfEvil felt like he had so many big plays for TSM, while Jensen didn't have the same gravity in the fights. But this time around, he will be on the Ahri. Kobe, do you think we're going to get the Everfrost Ahri here?
I know we are going to get the Everfrost, Captain Flowers, because Jensen already showed this in the regular season, and guess what? It didn't have a very big impact on the game, but that's not because the item and champion combination is not good. It's extremely good. Everfrost, you set up to guarantee your charm, which the whole champion is based off of. The extra damage that you get, the amplification, and they actually... Whoa, that was really close to the cutoff of the timer for the swap. Usually we have like a 20-second cutoff for the swap timers. I'm sure they're going to let it go through. Yeah, it is going to be PoE with the Lucian mid. So we don't get our Immortals flashbacks, but guess what? We get the entire rest of Huni's career flashbacks where so often it was the Gangplank, it was the Rumble that were banned against him. At different stages in his career, people were even saying that his champion roster fell flat past those two champions, and there was so much weight put on them. I also will point out that Rumble is very good into Gangplank because of your Flame Spitter. You can push in on him while killing the barrels, while going for this harassment, and you scrap shield when Gangplank if Gangplank tries to spend mana on Q harassing you with the normal Q grass procs, they tries to charge up. So this is a lot of early power for those solo lanes for TSM. And it is into, the Nidalee jungle matchup that we were hoping for Team Liquid. They would prioritize, some dominating early lane matchups for themselves. TSM slamming it down here, even with all the solo lane bans, they get some very strong ones.
So, talking about solo lanes and just the strength of the picks once again, I want to revisit your point on Nidalee, because you talk about how this champion loves to have easily applicable CC to set her up for the ganks. If you miss the spear, get out of here. It's not going to do a whole lot if you just hop at somebody with no mark. So are these lanes good enough? Is an Ahri charm good enough? Is a Nautilus dredge line good enough? Gangplank doesn't even have hard CC. How difficult is Santorin's job in this early game?
It is going to be kind of difficult. Gangplank, can get a slow on him, maybe if you get an early barrel. Early barrels are really hard to get onto Rumble, though. And especially Huni is quite good at last hitting barrel minigame because he's played both sides of it so frequently. So I'd say that one is going to be difficult, top side. But mid lane, the setup there into a cleanse Lucian, that's even more difficult because, PoE, cleanse is pretty short cooldown, and as many attempts that Jensen can throw at him to try and set up, they're going to have to burn through summoners to actually be able to make that work. Plus, it's double magic type here. So PoE could even go for an early null magic mantle, just for the quick magic resistance and be highly protected against both jungle and the mid lane here. He could also not spend money and going for the Negatron Cloak and just choose, magic resistance runes for mid lane, and that being very high value as well. Look at this, a blast from the past though. Is that actually Marn? Marn official, actually a team owner in the very first season of the LCS, way back in 2013. Big shout out for him.
The throwback there.
You weren't even here, Flowers.
Hey, I was watching from the roof of my house in college with my buddies. All right? I was still there. Just
on the roof.
because it was fun to hang out on the roof. You could put the TV up in the room. You could get fresh air. Oh, it was lovely. If you haven't watched LCS on the roof with your buddies, you're missing out.
All right. Honestly, that's next on my list then. I'm going to start. Next cast, I will be on the roof, my friend.
Please only do this with a flat roof. If the roof is very sloped, we don't want you falling off of the roof. But right now, we want to see both these teams have a strong early game here. Last time around, it was TSM who were really making the plays early on, doing better in that early stage of the game. And Team Liquid, we'll see if they can contest it here in this one. Both junglers are clearing out from bottom to top side, going with the full clear option. Udyr and Nidalee incredibly skilled and adept at just getting rid of every single camp on their radar. And we can see a little bit of a deviation here in the pathing at the very end. Santorin not bothering to go with the Krugs, while Spica will finish off his Gromp. So it's Santorin who will be in the river first, in the top lane first. But I don't know if Huni's exactly gankable. Here in the bottom side, you can see Lost and SwordArt just playing super aggro, seeing that the junglers are in the top half of the map. They can do whatever they want to here in the 2v2.
You're also not really expected to hit a lot of charms early in the lane phase there, in Ahri versus Lucian. And Jensen did get a nice little trade for himself. There's actually a recall there for PowerOfEvil, and Jensen should be able to push on this wave. Cannon wave though, so plenty of time for PoE to run back to lane. He does get a little bit more sustain for himself, and he grabs the early control ward. You see how important the vision is to try and continue to play aggressively as the Lucian. Even though Spica got priority of top side and is able to get that Scuttle Crab and zone Santorin off of the pushing Rumble matchup here, even stopping the back and delaying it, that means Santorin actually can't get to bottom Scuttle Crab first either. That should be Spica's as well, since bottom lane is pushing. And guess what, Flowers? The Udyr first pick again is set up for success. Spica should be able to run there extremely quickly. Santorin, a few seconds delayed by the recall, but bottom lane pressure also going to be there.
Yeah, Spica's performance on the Udyr in game number 1 was really critical in building all the leads that they got in that early game. At one point, when TSM had 5 kills, he was the one player who had full kill participation in that. He was a part of everything they were doing. Now getting off to a double Scuttle Crab start here in game number 2. Things are still going well for him. He invades towards the enemy jungle. He sees Santorin. Santorin's got a red buff, which Spica does not, and that means he's not really interested in trying to chase after the Nidalee. Also knowing that it's so easy for Team Liquid's bottom lane to rotate over and try to help, even though they're stuck underneath the turret right now. And CoreJJ is getting hit up pretty badly here, down to half HP.
Yeah, it turns out Udyr is a scholar. That man is interested in knowledge, okay? So he's getting a Scryer's Bloom and a ward. Yeah, it may look like he's got oversized animal costumes on, but he's actually a well-versed intelligence gathering jungle scholar there. Does get the deep ward to allow the bottom lane to continue pushing, and that turns into jungle objectives. Dragon transition is so easy for TSM because Lost and SwordArt have been doing so much work with this godlike bottom side duo of the Aphelios plus Thresh. Huni, though, going to be in trouble.
Huni taking a lot of damage here.
Big
Santorin
trouble.
goes with them with the blast cone, jumping right back in, nearly kills him off. Where's that last spear going to be? Huni is here. He's got 50 health. He just popped his shield and he's overheated. Alphari's walking forward, could just go for the flash Q, and first blood for Alphari.
So, very, very interesting how this is going to turn the game. The Rumble is actually going to be a weak point now for TSM. No flash on level 5 Huni. He's using his teleport to get back out here, though. Maybe they can get a counter.
Oh, Santorin trying to get away from that equalizer. Not too difficult of a task. Barely even loses any HP there, but it does cost him the flash. So Team Liquid can disengage that one. Nobody ends up dying as a consequence, but summoner spells did have to be used there, both for Alphari to get the kill and for Santorin to get away.
Look at that. Top lane Alphari. It's just going to be a kingdom here for him once again. So Santorin, he puts the early pressure onto Huni, gets him to 10%, even under HP. And Scrap Shield is down, so guess what? Flash Q. Goodbye, Huni. Top die there. Alphari, once again, the wave is in a really good spot for him too. So this should be, Team Liquid big power point for themselves, even though TSM did get that dragon. And it had looked like with TSM's bottom lane dominating so heavily and continuing to do so and allowing Spica to counter jungle here, TSM we're going to have another just free run of the early game. Top side of the map is actually going to be a bit of a rebuttal there for Team Liquid. CoreJJ gets the hook.
Okay, SwordArt now put in a bad spot where he has to flash back over the wall to get to his team. Holy cow, Tactical just jumping in on top of 3. What was that? Because it wasn't the right move.
Malphite sighting! We've got Tactical just rocket jump in on everybody. Exhaust goes down as well. You can't do that with Tristana unless you are sure you can get your reset. If you can 100% them, if you've got more damage from teammates there, then you can, and you can immediately rocket jump out. But right there again, it rears its head. That is the worry that people had for Team Liquid in the regular season. Here's a look at it. They've got a victory with chasing TSM out, getting the flash from SwordArt, but he jumps into an exhaust. Immediately exhausted, and PoE also had the early route from mid-pressure rotating down through the river, so should have been communicated by Team Liquid that even if there was no exhaust, that PoE was going to be first to the fight, and that is a leap of faith that is not rewarded, Captain Flowers.
Yeah, Tactical has got to clean those up. That was some unnecessary sloppiness on the play, and it costs Team Liquid a game state that now finds itself tied with TSM having the advantage down there in that bottom half of the map. Now, of course, one little bit of a shining light for the TL bottom lane duo is the fact that the kill went over to Spica, so they won't have to lane against that gold disadvantage directly. In the meantime, Santorin does have the opportunity to take down the Rift Herald by himself. You have Jensen rotating over just to make sure that nobody comes to contest this one on the side of TSM. It's low enough now that the eyeball will not spawn again, so he has to whittle the extra bit of health down just on his own. And speaking of whittling away, it's the health bar on the tier 1 turret here on the bottom side that TSM's putting a lot of work into.
Yeah, I guess sometimes with those kills, you're like, out of sight, out of mind. But if it's a jungler, then guess what? The jungler can also bring that gold right back to bite you. And I'm thinking back to the champ select of game number 1, where Tristana was banned out. You know, TSM, they didn't want to give Tactical this champion as it's so powerful, and Team Liquid have put such a high priority on it. Spica does go for some counter jungling here, seeing that Santorin is so low on mana, and Huni continues to push on this Rumble. He's not really in any danger, so you can freely go take those more valuable small Krugs. A lot of that value of the Camp of the Gold was funneled into the small ones, so you're forced to finish it off. But Tactical down there on the bottom side, it's almost feeling like, with how TSM have responded so well to giving over this Tristana pick, they might even be losing out in Champ Select as far as the best of 5 goes. Because if you have repercussions like this, where one of the most highly prized champions in the meta does so poorly for you, you know, both in lane and then rocket jumping into 3v1 exhaust scenarios, it actually loses you a lot of Champ Select power for later games in the series.
And one thing worth noting here in the mid lane, PowerOfEvil nearly getting the solo kill on Jensen there a moment ago, takes him down to about 100 HP with a culling. Jensen, however, having the patience, recognizing he doesn't need to use either the flash or the ulti to get away from that, but it does cost him the recall. He has to go back. He misses the wave underneath the turret. That's why Santorin stepped forward and cleared that one out for him. Jensen back in the mid lane now with those purchases, though. You can see the Ionian Boots of Lucidity there with a Lost Chapter, so plenty of laning power for him. SwordArt goes for a death sentence, but he won't find much. Both junglers are down here, so this could turn into a pretty big 3v3 pretty quickly if either one of these supports decides they want to go in, Kobe.
Yeah, or the AD carries, Flowers. What if Tactical just decides
No, we're not. We're going to hope that Tactical learned his lesson. We're going to assume that there were lessons learned there. So I'm just going with the idea that the initiation supports will be initiating here. And it's CoreJJ, who's further away from the rest of the team, but now re-engaging here with the dredge line. And there with the front line, it's SwordArt going to be bursted down. Spica taking the damage now with the ulti coming through. Aphelios doing some work, but Tactical doing more. Coming right back in there, and it's the Gangplank ulti that did so much here for TL in this fight. It gave them a 3-for-1. Now it's going to be 4 if they don't look out. PowerOfEvil gets charmed up. Triple kill over to Santorin and Team Liquid. What is it with these guys in 4, man? They pick it up.
They're quick learners, Captain Flowers. The lesson was learned and the test was aced. Oh, that is such a stomping here for Team Liquid. Tactical was actually just giving him a freebie before. He comes to collect this time around. It is indeed the supports that started out. CoreJJ, they run straight at the Nautilus and he does not flinch. He immediately hooks in. Jensen now, though, does not have ult, still has flash.
Flashing away, trying to get out of Huni's damage. You are not getting away from anything on that one, my friend. So TSM picking up their second kill of the game in the aftermath of the disaster in bottom lane, and grabbing that mid lane kill gives them the chance to stack their second dragon of the game. And remember, the first one was taken at 5 minutes, so this will be a nice early potential soul stack for them as we go into the Honda performance play to see how CoreJJ just turned it all around.
Yeah, this man does not flinch, okay? You're running at him with Udyr, you throw the hook at him, he just turns it around. Such a good counter engage by CoreJJ. Then Santorin even able to hop out and heal so he doesn't die, doesn't give over any triumph stacks. Tactical jump back in for the slow, and as the mid laners arrive, Jensen with his ultimate locks him up. They get the charm, they get the triple kill for the Nidalee. That is a completed Night Harvester here for Santorin. 13 minutes into the game, huge influx of gold for them. And this is already a banger of a series for sure. Game number 1 was definitely an indicator, but I agree here. Let's get hype.
Man, that's such a huge play bottom there from Team Liquid. They've got to be happy about how it turned out. And I feel like CoreJJ is just one of those players, one of the most dangerous spots that CoreJJ can be in for your team is when you feel like you caught him out. He is so adept at recognizing when he can turn a play around. Now coming into the mid lane, going after PowerOfEvil. They know he already used his cleanse there on the bottom side, and CoreJJ said, thanks for the 300, I'm the carry now. They get the flash out of Huni in the top lane at the same time.
Yeah, CoreJJ is pissed. The Terminator comes towards mid lane as well. PoE's got no more summoner spells. Dead man walking right there. Ultimate down from Nautilus. Clean exchange. They didn't even have to get into tower damage range there. Only one shot. Now Huni's under fire as well.
Oh, but he drops down the equalizer to try to protect himself a little bit further. They grab the kill. Spica wants to move in there and see if anything can be cleaned up. But this is not the Udyr that was so far ahead in game number 1, Kobe. This is not 3-1-2 with the Kim tank already completed. The boys got some shoes and that little fire cinder in his inventory, a nice white t-shirt, and that's it. And those are not enough items to stay alive and win these fights. Forced to flash away underneath the turret as the Gangplank ulti is called down, and Team Liquid is winning the fight across the map.
Yeah, and that Night Harvester early completion for Nidalee means that Santorin almost 100% Huni off of one spear hit, jumping in for the full combo. They burn him down, and the Rumble is not going to have a big impact on this game. So many fights by Team Liquid turned around towards the top side of the map. It's already Divine Sunder completed for Alphari, so he is a more tanky version of the Gangplank. Can be the front line, can stick in there with a lot of these barrels, create problems for TSM. And if you look at the entire champion select for TSM this time around, they invested much more in champions that don't scale as well as the previous game. PoE tries to get the all-in again onto Jensen, but that's the thing with the culling, you know, and him getting so low so many times. It's a lot of damage, but it's not surprise damage. So Jensen doesn't have to panic. He does have to exchange his ultimate there towards the end.
And losing the ulti at least removes some of the aggro potential here in the mid lane. And oh man, if we're talking about aggro, that spear nearly hitting there onto PowerOfEvil. Santorin doesn't have flash to be able to catch up if PoE disengages even after that hits though. That flash will be coming up here in just a moment. And it's Team Liquid who might just go after a Rift Herald here. Huni is around, and it looks like we're gonna see rotations from both teams over to this one. Doesn't look like anybody wants to give it away for free.
Yeah, almost. I mean, just think about that bottom lane fight. That was basically a 3,000 gold fight for Team Liquid on bottom side. All of those kills plus the Rift Herald activation for the first time around, and it has completely changed the face of this game and how TSM can actually play it out. Now they're lagging so far behind. You see them even just lightly contesting and grabbing the Scuttle Crab for themselves on top side, still being very trepid. As Santorin, this Nidalee, at the top of the gold charts, getting most of the kills on the bottom side with the triple kill for himself. Plus, guess what? He's the jungler, so he had the Rift Herald eyeball. You're guaranteed to get some of those Rift Herald plate money. You can't give it up even if you wanted, and that is a very rich Nidalee. So it's going to be about TSM trying to avoid Santorin plays at the moment, or at least avoid Santorin spears. If they can avoid those, and be able to come up with some combinations with your Rumble and your Thresh plus Udyr holding them in place, maybe you could get a team fight victory, but this comp just does not scale anywhere close to as well as the TSM comp in game number 1, so they're under pressure. They need to try and play off of the win conditions surrounding dragon stacking, but they're down in gold, so it's hard for them to actually fight that fight.
Huni at least finally gets his mythic item online here. He did have to stop off for the Seekers, went for the Sorcerer's Shoes as well for the early penetration. Now TSM might have to be careful with Team Liquid coming to make a play in bottom lane, but the first turret died up there in the top lane. You saw Huni have to use the equalizer defensively, just trying to clear the waves away, and Alphari could not be bothered to care any less. He nearly takes the turret down off of that same wave, and then the next wave can just crash in and pick that up for Team Liquid's advantage. Now it's important for TL to try to stop this here. TSM committing the entire squad. I like this. They're recognizing that this Drake is still a win condition for them in a game that they're pretty significantly behind. And they want to keep this stack alive. They want to bring themselves onto the soul point here. Alphari's coming in for the damage. Jensen around from the side. It is a massacre. TSM, they wanted to try to continue stacking these up, but Team Liquid simply said no. Huni's trying to stay close enough to maybe try to contest something, but it cannot be done. It's Drake +3 for TL.
You can just look at the player movement on that play, Flowers, and tell TSM are in just deep deep, deep trouble right now. I mean, as soon as TL popped the Gangplank ultimate, every TS member is like, yep, nope, we gotta run, we're out of here. They're all grouped up, same pathway out, just AoE down. They knew there's very little hope for them. They get cut off on the only win condition left open to them in this game because of being pivoted in so heavily towards this early game. I guess you could still say, hey, you know, best situation, maybe we're able to set up Lost for something. But if you look at this fight, CoreJJ immediately ults Lost. He's got a point-and-click solution for that Aphelios. As strong as the TSM bottom lane was early on in the game, there's nothing that Lost can do if CoreJJ is in click range. And Nautilus ult went down right on top of him. They were all clumped together, so it's Gangplank AoE, it's Nautilus ultimate AoE. It's just like, if TSM are starting up that dragon, it felt like watching their player movement, their only hope, they were thinking, hey, maybe we burn it and sneak it or something, because as immediately as Team Liquid show themselves, they're like, okay, we're outgunned here.
Alphari loses the turret that he's using as protection, but instead it was only a bait. Bringing Santorin down here for the 2v2, but now Team Liquid has lost a little bit more HP than they were expecting. The barrel's denied. Now Alphari has to flash. Colin coming down. One shutdown over to PowerOfEvil. Will it be two? Not just yet, but a bad stasis from Santorin could put him in a bad spot instead. Wait, what? What? What?
Or is it Captain Flowers? It is a stasis to bait once again. Honestly, it's an execution. He never got to hit the rumble. Tactical is gonna make up for earlier.
Okay, so Tactical grabs a freebie here in the mid lane, takes down the enemy AD carry in the 1v1. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, a stasis that looks like it might get Santorin killed baits both opponents in. Yes, one of them gets executed, but he still gets the kill on the other. And now, with 3 dead players on TSM, Team Liquid says, hey, you know what? It's 20 minutes. Why not? Into the Baron pit.
Yeah, it turns out Santorin was using his broken stopwatch there to hypnotize them. Ooh, don't you want to come tower dive over here? Alphari will screen the rest of TSM. He should be able to keep them out long enough, but 3K health and they're going for the fight.
Not against the Equalizer. That thing is incredibly effective at stopping these early Baron attempts, but it will not be able to stop the fight and the kill afterwards. Tactical is on a killing spree, and SwordArt is out of the picture despite using both summoner spells.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be a repeatable play for Team Liquid. The reason why I think it's so doomed for TSM with their champ select this time around is they have nothing to hold people in place, really, unless they get very fortunate setup and circumstances in the team fight on this Rumble ultimate, so you're not going to get much value anymore out of this Rumble ultimate. It's already cresting the point where the Rumble ultimate starts to fall off, doesn't have as big impact, does not scale as well later into the game. PoE did make a big play there in the 2v2 down on bottom side to get the initial kill, but then, you know, it immediately got cut off as they tried to chase too far and give up the extra one back to Team Liquid. So you can tell already, TSM, they're just throwing anything in the playbook as deep as they could possibly find. Group up on a brush, try and brush bait. Maybe they get multiple people off a brush bait and can then brush a Baron. But Team Liquid probably won't give it to them. Here's the initial good play from TL. We immediately follow flashes to make sure that Cullen gets the kill. Then Santorin, 1 turret shot, 2 turret shot. He's able to hop away. He lands the spear onto PoE, so he gets credit for the kill onto PoE. Huni was untouched, so it was an execution, but those still give over experience, and it's back out to Team Liquid. All that's really left for them is to finish up the dirty work, clearing up this map. They have the Everfrost Ahri, so with their control of Summoner's Rift, you just have to go set up at every objective first once again. Jensen can threaten to pick. And CoreJJ has the point and click that both PoE and Lost have to respect.
That bottom play, if Santorin did that stopwatch to convince them to dive in knowing that would be the outcome, that is the most 5-head play I have ever seen in my life. Now, granted, Huni did mistime his E there, but even if he hits the E, that E alone doesn't finish off the last 300 HP that Santorin had. So I'm wondering how intentional that was, because that was some pretty incredible stuff. Santorin still at 0 deaths. Him and CoreJJ both. So if we're talking about SwordArt and CoreJJ as rivals, that rivalry is not looking too equal right about now in this game here, Kobe. 0-3-1 versus 2-0-6 for CoreJJ's Nautilus. Just having a much better game than his opponent this time around. Goes for the flash, dredge line, gets him through the flash. CoreJJ here in the front line now with the damage coming down. Core just might fall. Yes, he will, but the reset's coming through. Tactical does it again. He goes too far in, but he stays alive well enough to get away. Yes, he's got 200 HP left. Oh no, Spica just runs it on into the waiting maw. That is Team Liquid's damage, and it's a 2-for-1 trade for TL.
I love Tactical, man. He keeps it lively here on Something Rift. Right in there. I've done the exact same thing. Rocket jump in, flash your ass out immediately. Team Liquid will get the dragon after it, though. Tactical making good use of that W key.
Every time he does this, I just hear the Lux voice line, tactical decision, Summoner. Every time he's jumping in.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some good social interactions. If you want some free interactions too for the Santorin one with the stopwatch, get yourself a Santorin hypnosis gift going on. That play could be redone, repurposed as well. Team Liquid though sitting pretty here, looking like they are going to move up to 2-0. Such a tremendous lead in this best-of-5 matchup. They still have the ginormous gold lead, with now it being very easy for them to continue stacking dragons. TSM have made some decent counter punches. It's only put a small dent in the gold lead, though. It's definitely possible. You see this as a line flash for Aphelios. Lost. He flashes completely perpendicular there. Tactical then, though, decides to jump right in as well. He does get the heal. Santorin's able to get the Nidalee heal on him just in time, and it actually lures in, charm distance there for Udyr. So once again, another classic Team Liquid bait.
Team Liquid now commanding, what is that, 8,000 gold lead over TSM, and they are feeling great about the current state of the game, man. 15-4 here in game number 2. Team Liquid has shaken off whatever bad vibes they had in game number 1, and now CoreJJ once again going back in for the counter engage as soon as it looks like he's been caught out, but was it a mistake this time? Jensen and Santorin both going to be taken low. TSM health bar is about to evaporate from a little bit more damage, but they cannot get the reset. Tactical cannot get a kill. Alphari goes in looking for even more. He's going to grab the bullet that kills off Spica. Everybody on TSM not named Lost is nearly dead. What an incredibly close fight here between these squads. Tactical falls over, so it's a 1-for-1 trade between the teams.
Yeah, it's Lost in all his chakrams versus the world at the end here, trying to fend off all Team Liquid members to allow his teammates to survive. TSM, though, once again, they barely get out. They get a counter kill. They take down Tactical. PoE had a massive culling there, by the way. In the beginning, he completely chunks out Jensen, forces all of Jensen's ultimate charges and forces him out of the fight, opening up the return damage onto Tactical and it being a possibility for TSM. As much as Team Liquid have this giant goal lead and have this good fight setup possibilities, TSM are not lying down. They are continuing to throw counterpunch after counterpunch, and now Alphari is next on the menu.
Alphari's seeing the rumble and saying, all right, I can fight this guy, but League of Legends is a team game, my friend. So now you got to get away from 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's not happening. The money goes over to Lost, and TSM pick up a kill for free.
If Team Liquid aren't careful, TSM might look to one-up them as far as comebacks in this series.
Yeah.
Team Liquid definitely had a bigger gold lead than game number 1 than TSM had, but it's starting to go back the other way. And guess what? It's Lost at the center of it. This Aphelios. So CoreJJ is going to be looking for him for point-and-click Nautilus ultimate. Lost has to watch his positioning. He's got no summoner spells to work with, but they still have 18 seconds left on Alphari.
TSM going for the big play. They know they need something like this to get them back into this game. Team Liquid moving forward as 4, trying to stop him. Multi-man stun coming out here with the Everfrost. Baron down to about 1,000 HP. It's going to be secured by Huni. Santorin's into the pit, buying a little bit of time here with the stasis. Getting back out over the wall. Team Liquid coming in, looking to fight, but Lost is going crazy here with the Aphelios damage. But not crazy enough. It is a quadra kill for Jensen and an ace for Team Liquid.
Well, that's the end of that story. Tactical is able to finish it off. Team Liquid can now push in towards an inhibitor. TSM group up all in the back of the barrel. Bunch of easy fish for the shooting there as Team Liquid They are initially turned back by this Rumble ultimate from Huni, which was quite good on the line outside of Baron Pit, but then they just re-engage even after TSM are able to acquire the Baron. They do get last hit here. I believe even it's a burn down from Huni on it. Baron spikes are doing damage, they're all grouped up. CoreJJ gets a Nautilus hook in, allowing Jensen and Santorin to jump there. Santorin hops back out as Tactical hops in, so it's a good trade of aggro basically by Team Liquid as they take turns jumping in, finishing off the TSM members. Tactical and Santorin both able to survive, and it's incredibly important for Team Liquid that Santorin does survive. He's got the big bounty on his head. That is maximum stacked up 700 gold extra, plus the 300 gold for a kill would mean 1,000 gold swing if TSM would have been able to finish him off inside the Baron Pit. But the repercussions, Captain Flowers, are the cost of a mid-lane inhibitor for that Baron grouping from TSM, and the sole point for Team Liquid.
Jensen did such a good job starting that off there for Team Liquid, making sure that they captured everybody in the back part of the pit there as Baron is doing extra damage with the spikes. 6-1 and 8 here on the Ahri. 14 out of 21, so 2/3 kill participation here for this guy. Really impressive stuff. I'm loving what we're getting to see out of this Ahri pick. And now it's Team Liquid pushing down the bottom lane, going after the inhib here yet again. The equalizer's summoned up, and Tactical jumps away from that one. Now with that spell having been expended, Team Liquid will wait for the next minion wave here and its arrival. They know that this turret is already below half HP, and they've got Tristana. They got Tristana at level 15. That is a long-range threat that has one of the few abilities in the game that can be cast on a turret. It is so easy to knock these structures down. Even if you don't have a Baron buff, just a couple of seconds is all Tactical needs of free firing time onto this. Jensen goes over the wall, just buys their attention for a moment to give Tactical the chance to put the autos into the turret, and there's the bomb, there's the damage, and there's the second inhibitor broken open now on the side of TSM. Yes, the inhibitor itself still remains, but they've got a lot of protecting to do when they're down 9,500 gold.
Yeah, and they don't have any issues with sustain either. With 3 Ocean Dragons themselves, it's not the soul yet, but it's still decent sustain for the Team Liquid members. They keep up the pressure outside of the inhibitor here and can keep TSM bottled up inside their own. Whoop.
Oh, CoreJJ tries to go in, but with the equalizer called down yet again, Huni's got a lot of ability haste here. So that means that that was ready to go, and it stops Team Liquid from going all the way in. CoreJJ throwing down the ulti, but Huni instantly with the stasis, trying to get himself away from the aggro. Jensen goes in with the Everfrost, finds the CC on a SwordArt. The inhibitor falls. Nobody from TSM is dead. That's the important part. Lost it's a multi-man ulti here, but there's not any follow-up any longer. So TSM now stands with 2 inhibitors down, and Team Liquid safely retreats.
Yep, the damage has been done. With 2 inhibitors down, TSM now have to deal with double lines of super minions coming in. Can they make a Hail Mary play? Maybe if you catch someone with desynced recall timers, they're hoping they can just fish around. Half the team is left. Maybe they make a pick and can run back the other way. They do stop some of the recalls at the very least.
Oh, it's everybody still together. That is all 5 Team Liquid players. Hoping that you find a straggler did not work out, because as soon as they walk in that brush, they see multiple health bars, and that's just not a fight to take.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be too many, so no overextension there. They do push out some of the super minion waves, but this is going to be Team Liquid. 1 minute, 40 seconds left on the Baron, and they will have full pressure to go set up at this Baron pit. And guess what? Their turn is amazing. You've got Nautilus. You can easily turn off this Baron. You have Nautilus, Ahri combination. Anyone from TSM that comes to face check, should be getting hit with a CC chain into a super fed Nidalee spear that has gone full damage build here for Santorin. So even with the Scuttle Crab picked up by TSM, Team Liquid don't have to have any complicated game plan on how to finish this one out. They can easily just have Jensen push one more wave, head on over to Baron, and then threaten the pick versus TSM.
TSM had a pretty big throw in game number 1, and now here in game number 2, they're hoping to put Team Liquid in a similar situation. They need another one of those tactical decisions out of this Tristana. CoreJJ taking a lot of damage here in the front line, getting caught out a little bit, gets away to safety as the Gangplank ulti finds everybody on the side of TSM. Jensen goes forward. Everfrost gonna find some CC and damage onto 2. Huni into the stasis. SwordArt's already down as he drops the box. But Jensen has gone godlike with a charm into a spear, and PowerOfEvil lost Spica. Everybody's trying to get away, but they aren't getting away from nothing. Tactical's going in for the reset city as Spica and PowerOfEvil stand 2v5, but they will not stand any longer. Nexus turret's fallen over. Team Liquid on the victory march, significantly faster than game number 1. They'll even look to pad the stats here at the very end. They are confident this one is all done for, and Team Liquid move up to a 2-0 lead.
Interesting game number 2 here as TSM's bottom lane actually opened up with tons of pushing pressure, lots of big early lead, getting them under tower, and even Tactical jumping in with the Tristana early to give over a kill. But Team Liquid, a massive team play on the bottom side of the map. When they brought down Jungler, they brought down Jensen, they brought down Rift Herald, seems like everything to this party. Gangplank ultimate, setting them up, and after that triple kill for Santorin plus Rift Herald activation, they were off to the moon, okay? That gold lead was enough to dominate the early game there for Team Liquid. This is something that they put so much effort into in the regular season. All of 2021 has been the new look of Team Liquid. Guess what? They're no longer scaling. They're no longer slow. They no longer play just for late game. It is early game domination, and in game number 2 here, they got right back on track.
That bottom lane play, man, that 4 for nothing. Yes, immediately after, there's a kill onto Jensen that leads to the second TSM Drake of the game. But 1 kill plus 1 Drake early on in exchange for 4 kills in a big fight that got assists on everybody, and that triple kill that you mentioned on Santorin. Santorin's performance in the jungle this game, it's a Diffie in the Jiffy. I'm just going to say it. There was a jungle canyon this time around here in game number 2, and TSM's going to have to come back into game number 3 swinging, because that's 2 in a row for TL, bringing them up to match point. On the other side of this break, the State Farm Analyst Desk will be tackling everything that led to that TL victory, and we'll see you there.